Hi guys, this short rant that'll get me branded, I'm quite sure, as some sort of redneck racist pig, goes out to anyone, and I'm included in this gang, or at least I was until recently, anyone planning to move to Latin America for whatever reason. My reason for moving to Latin America was some idea that you would have a better chance of surviving the oncoming end times, the collapse of the U.S. economy and the rising police state, and But I don't care what your reason is. This is going out to anyone who has any dream of moving to Latin America. I don't care whether it's Mexico or Tierra del Fuego or anywhere in between. My spot was actually Peru, is where I ended up buying my property and building a house. Fortunately, I only sunk $13,000 into it, into this madcap dream. I'm only down between 12 and 13 grand, although a lot of gringos are in it a hell of a lot deeper than me, kicking themselves a lot harder than I'm kicking myself. Guys, do as I say and not as I do. Take the advice that you will find in your research over and over and over and over again from people who have been down there and done that and learned the hard way, whether it's Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Peru, wherever it is down there. Rent for 1 year. Find your little community. Wherever you think paradise awaits you. Wherever you're moving from in the U.S. or Europe or Canada, wherever you're moving to, find your little piece of paradise that you think you're going to be happy for the rest of your life, and rent and live there for 1 solid year before plunking 1 penny down on buying a piece of land and building a house. How many people have tried to give me this advice, and I, like you, just refuse to listen to it. And this advice applies to everybody in the world except me. So here's one more tale of some dumb gringo who went down there, thinking he was going to create for himself a new life in Latin America. Guys, just rent for a year and make sure this is what you want to do with your life, and excuse this blanket statement which has nothing to do with prejudice against the Latin American people. I hear that people who have moved to small villages in England suffer from the same problem. At least they have the English language. Number one is the Spanish, is the Spanish language barrier. I'm okay in Spanish. I have actually lived in Latin America for 6 years, if you add it all up. I've been traveling down there for half my life. I've been traveling down there half my life. I've actually lived in Latin America altogether for 6 years. I have a full year of university level Spanish, which I made A's in. I've taken these intensive Spanish courses several times. I can do a real estate contract in Spanish. I can build a house in Spanish. What I cannot do in Spanish, and will never be able to do in Spanish, is sit around and jaw with people. Is sit around and make friends with people in Spanish. I will never have the ability, I would never be able to get up on this rock in Spanish and tell you what I'm trying to tell you. After 6 years of living there, after speaking it for half my life. Guys, get serious. Are you ready for this? Even if you go to your little Spanish conversation classes, if you've taken a couple of these little whatever they call them, in-depth Spanish courses that they offer all over Latin America. Guys, there is a big difference. And then hanging out over a cup of coffee and living somewhere and trying to be part of a community. It's hell. It's hell. Make no mistake about this. Have a long conversation with yourself in both languages. Listen to me on this one. And the other one, which is going to get me, as I say, labeled, I'm sure, the racist, everything else. Guys, all right, how am I going to say this? I'm going to spit it right out. I don't care how much you think that you're going to go down there, whether you're part of one of these Gringo communities, you know, or completely out in the woods like I was, you know, completely isolated with no English language. Whichever tack you take, if you think on any level you are ever going to be accepted into the community where you're moving, that you're just going to go down there and blend in, get that fantasy out of your head. Maybe if you marry somebody down there, you know, if you find a wife or a husband who's part of the community, you'll have a little bit of an in. But even then, but especially if you don't marry somebody, you are never going to be part of any community. You are a gringo. You are money. The only reason that any of these people from the Rio Grande River all the way down want to see you coming is they want to separate you from your money. And you cannot blame these people. Okay? Don't kid yourself for one damn minute. Now you're gonna have some friends, and the people working on your land, the people building your house for $11 a day, which is what I was paying to have my house built in Peru. $11 for an 8-hour day. They're going to be real friendly. They're going to be the greatest guys in the world as long as you're pulling out $11 a day. All right? But when the house is done, the trees are planted, those guys are going to disappear out of your life. And there's many forms of thievery in Latin America. You know, it's there's the outright thieves. And in 3 years of living in Costa Rica, I was robbed 22 times. 22 times in Costa Rica. Now, in over a year in Ecuador, I've never been robbed one time. In Peru, over a year in Peru, I've only been robbed one time. But there's many sorts of thieves in Latin America. There's the direct kicking in your door thief and stealing all your stuff or breaking into your car. And then you've got the immigration department thieves. This is particularly more and more of a problem in Ecuador, where every year these immigration fees and requirements get more and more and more onerous, where gringos are just saying screw you and just leaving Ecuador. Peru is much, much better on the immigration, which is part of the reason I chose Peru over Ecuador. There's that kind of thief. There's just getting there's two pricing systems, and don't let anybody tell you any different. There is one price for the locals and one price for the gringos. In every community in Latin America. Now it still happens that the gringo price, particularly the farther out you get from the gringo communities, is still, you can still get unbelievable bargains. And I paid, for my 3 acres of gorgeous land in Peru, I paid $3,800 for 3 absolute gorgeous acres, and then got about $9,000 into the house. before I hit the wall. I lasted, not my last time, it was 6 months, you know, until my visa expired. 6 months that I survived, but I was ready to go after about 4.5. You know, when I figured this out. But guys, it ain't gonna happen. You are never going to be accepted. You are always going to be the Gringo, and the Gringo means the person with the money. And if they don't rob you outright, they rob you through their charm and smiles. They want your money. They don't want your damn friendship. They don't want your cultural exchange. They sure as hell don't want your advice. They don't want your little pens and notebooks. What else do they not want? You know, guys, they want your money. As long as you're reaching into that pocket and pulling out that money, they're gonna love you. But if you don't have, that's the people who have something to sell you. The people who have something to sell are always going to be your friend. If they have nothing to sell you, they don't give a damn about you on any level, unless they're the tiny minority who are just going to rip you off outright. But the vast majority don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about you. They never will. They have no reason to. Okay? And so as the people who have something to sell you are going to be your friends. And as soon as you have no more money to buy what they're selling, they're going to disappear back into the woodwork. And you are just going to be one more Gringo that means nothing to them, except a referral to the next Gringo who comes into town. I think I've made my point clear. As Lindsay Williams would say, I beg of you, rent for 1 solid year. And at the end of that year, if you have determined what I am telling, what I and thousands and thousands and thousands of other Gringos in my position are telling you is incorrect information, and that you believe that you're happy down there and that this is the culture you want to spend your life in, with some language you can't understand fully, you're a better man than I, and good luck and more power to you. And I got a house and a beautiful piece of land to sell you in South Say, Peru for $15,000. You can pick up where I left off before heading back to Texas with my tail between my legs. And I think I've made my point, so I'll shut up now. Hasta luego, amigos.